guys, welcome to the Para podcast. Today we will be speaking about um, book to movie adaptations. Um, I don't really have much of a script this episode because I was kind of hoping to just go with the flow, and if there's anyone in chat, we can sort of discuss like different sort of book to movie adaptations that you guys have seen. Um, I'm kind of like wanting to bounce off the people who are in chat right now. So if you guys are here, feel free to say hi and input your opinions on whatever book to movie adaptations I talk about or whatever you wish to talk about too. Yeah, I have here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sort of book to movie adaptations that I have sort of ranked. So we will go through these individually. Yeah. So we can talk about a bunch more, but these few are the main ones that I want to talk about. Uh, Right. Okay. So let's start off with a high note. We'll go from best to worst in this list. So, my favorite book to movie adaptation that I've ever watched is Gone Girl, and before I give my opinion, I have to say that I did watch the movie before I read the book, but okay, I still think it's the best book to movie adaptation. Um, when it comes to these like adaptations, oftentimes the movies are just not as great as the books, but I would say the movie this time is as good or even better than the books. I might be biased because I watched the movie first, but that's my opinion. I think a lot of it has to do with the author being the person who wrote the screenplay for Gone Girl. What's her name? Her name's like Gillian something. Let me search it up. Gillian Flynn. Yeah, she is not only the author, but she also wrote the screenplay for the movie, and I suppose that's why it's so good. And there's a really good how do I say this video from a YouTuber called Lessons from Screenplay, I think, and he did a video on how good the screenplay is in Gone Girl and how it helped to set the tone of the book. I mean the movie. All right. How do I discuss the movie without spoiling it? Because honestly, I think it's good to go into Gone Girl without knowing anything about it. And that's what makes it so cool. It's like I really love watching mystery plots, and I think one appeal of mystery plots is that you sort of have to piece together the clues, like with the main character, and you can't just leave halfway through because the mystery's not solved. You have to sit through the entire thing. And Gone Girl is quite a long movie, I think, but it's totally worth the long movie time. It's so good. There's a lot of things I want to talk about Gone Girl, but I try not to spoil it. The casting is great. Who played the main character? I'm not really well tuned with the two white actors, I guess. Ben Affleck, yeah. I think he's a perfect cast for the main character, the dumb, sort of suspicious husband, I guess. I'm reading a lot of news. There's a bunch of news here. One of them is the fight that shut down Gone Girl's production for days, and the other one is one about actor Lisa Baines dies 10 days after being injured in a hit and run. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. And Rosamund Pike is obviously wonderful as well. She is amazing in her role as Amy, and I think she absolutely sold her performance, and like her performance is one of the reasons why Gone Girl is such a great film, I think. Alright. Do I have any more to talk about Gone Girl? I just really like Gone Girl. I just really like Gone Girl. I suppose I'll end Gone Girl with that. I have been wanting to talk about Gone Girl with my friends for so long, but none of them have watched it. But if you enjoy sort of thriller mystery movies, you can go ahead and watch Gone Girl. Yeah. The next movie or franchise I want to talk about in this sort of rank list is The Hunger Games. I think The Hunger Games did the books justice. I read The Hunger Games before I watched the movies. Yeah, I was one of the OGs. Okay, I'm just kidding. I don't even have the books. I wish I had the books, but one of my friend gave the book to me. Not gave the book, borrowed the book to me, so that I could read it. And I was a shitty person about it. I did not treat the books very well, and you know, if you are borrowing a book from someone, please treat it nicely. I was such a shithead about it. But you know, that's not what we're delving in today. The Hunger Games. So I absolutely enjoyed the books. You know, the sort of layout for the original Hunger Games is, I mean, I'm sure you guys know the Hunger Games. Basically, battle royale. You have 24 people in one arena. Yeah, arena stores. 24 people in one arena, and they fight to their death until one person remains. That's like the main sort of, how do you say this? Main sort of premise for the books, but then it just expands so much upon that, and it's not just about this fun sort of, not fun. I can't say that, it sounds really bad when I say watching 24 kids kill each other is fun. But yeah, like other this okay, this fun premise, right? It's what pulls you into wanting to read the books in the first place, but then you stay for how interesting the story is and how interesting the characters are. Yeah, okay. But we're here to talk about adaptations, right? How well is it adapted? I really love the first film. I think it I think the tone of the first film is very well set by the camera work. You know how like they have shaky cam? It's been a while since I watched The Hunger Games. I feel like we're watching it soon, but yeah, some details may be inaccurate here. And I think the actresses and the actors did really well too. The casting was great. I think Jennifer Lawrence did great as Katniss Everdeen, and gosh, I forgot every other actor's name. It's fine. But yeah, the actors are well casted, and I just think Jennifer Lawrence did such a great job in The Hunger Games. I think you can really tell like how great her performance is in Catching Fire. I think it's universally agreed that Catching Fire is the best movie out of all the 4 movies in the Hunger Games franchise. Gosh, I don't know how to talk about how good the adaptation is. It's just good, you know? How do I explain it? Alright, okay. The reason why I don't think the Hunger Games franchise is as great as Gone Girl is I think it drags on for too long. I personally, as a kid, was so hyped that there was gonna be 2 what was it? Hunger Games Mockingjay. Is that the last book? I was so hyped that they split it into 2 because I was like, yes, more Hunger Games content. But as the years went by, the sort of dystopian YA books and movie genre kind of died down. The hype died down. At this point, it's around where Allegiant came out too. We will discuss that later, but you know, the dystopian sort of films kind of weren't in trend anymore, and there were less and less people going to watch it. And I'm sure like the last Mockingjay Part 2 actually earned less money than, like, the least money out of all of the movies in the franchise. So, and also the first two movies were great, right? Because it delved into this sort of concept that everyone was interested in, the whole people fighting to their deaths in one arena. And the last two movies were about this sort of revolution, right? And I get what's in the book, but um it just maybe it didn't translate well into movie. I still enjoyed the films, obviously, but it I understand why the genre died down. There's so many times you can redo the Hunger Games until it's not fun anymore. I think that's what every other series was trying to do, to replicate the Hunger Games hype. But they didn't do as great as the Hunger Games. But anyways, I really enjoyed the Hunger Games franchise. I have a huge urge to watch it again because it's been a while since I watched it. But yeah, I don't remember watching the first three films, but I remember watching the last film in the cinema with my friends, and I almost cried because that's a spoiler. I can't talk about it, but it's really emotional. It got me, and I think there's like one successful book to movie adaptation, which is pretty good considering it's a dystopian adaptation, and those don't really have a good track record. Right, next in the list, I'm gonna talk about Pride and Prejudice. I didn't watch the series. I want to watch it, but I don't know where to watch it. I can't find a place that lets you watch it for free, and I tried using VPN on Netflix, but it just kicked me out. So I don't know. So I'll be talking about the 2001. Was it 2001 or is it 2009? That's really like an 8-year difference. Let me see. 2005 is none of them. It's none of what I mentioned. It's 2005. I think the series was 2001 or something. I'm not sure, but it's the 2005 film of Pride and Prejudice, that adaptation featuring Keira Knightley, and Rosamund Pike as well. She's here, and Jenna Malone, I think, who played what's her name? What's her name? Oh my god, I forgot her name. What's her name? Let me go search. She's gonna bother me. She played Johanna in the Hunger Games. Yeah, she's in this film too. When I first watched it, I'm like, yo, it's those girls from Gone Girl and the Hunger Games. Yeah, and my beloved Keira Knightley, who is gorgeous. Pride and Prejudice. Okay, I've heard that the mini series is a better adaptation than the movie, but I like how the movie gave the book its own sort of spin. It's not exactly the same, which really irked my literature teacher, by the way. She did not like the 2005 film, but I did. Um, they changed it, that they added their own spark, and I really liked it. Even though it's like not exactly the same. Keira Knightley does an amazing job as Elizabeth. I think she's so great. She has the Elizabeth spunk, I suppose. And Mr. Darcy, so I suddenly remember my classmate saying, "Do you watch the movie? Mr. Darcy is not how I imagined it." Yeah, but how do I say this? Mr. Darcy, he's not what I imagined, alright, but he has this sort of vibe that Mr. Darcy has in the books. Sort of how do you say this? A cold person at first, but then he transforms into this really sincere guy. Oh my god, my heart is out for Mr. Darcy. Anyways, casting is great, obviously, and I like how they added their own spin to it. Like, they had the lines from the books, the one that Mr. Darcy said. What did Mr. Darcy say? Something. Yeah. Okay, it's in the scene between him and Elizabeth where, um, in this movie they are in the rain and they're talking about how Mr. Darcy was talking about how he was attracted to Elizabeth, but then he also started telling Elizabeth about how dishonest her family was and how they did not have any propriety. Oh, Mr. Darcy, you dumbass. But that scene, they kept some of the lines from the books, which I absolutely adored, but they changed the setting completely. Like in the original books, Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth were in a room, but in the movie, they were in this rain. I just made it so much more dramatic and just made the sexual tension a bit more like prominent, which is great because it's not something you can have in books, right? But with like the rain sounds, it just amplified the scene more, and I love how they had their own take about it. Yeah. I guess that's all I have to say about Pride and Prejudice. But next one I'm gonna talk about is The Fault in Our Stars. The Fault in Our Stars is the first sort of young adult book I read, because previously I've all read like PG books like The Hardy Boys. I completely forgot every single book I've read from my childhood. Kitty Slade, I talked about Kitty Slade once upon a time, I think, in my first ever podcast. But The Fault in Our Stars is the first YA book I read, and I was so shocked when I read swear words in the book. I was like, shit. My parents watching behind my back, and they had a SEGGS scene too in the books. Yeah. When I read the books, I don't think I cried. I think I was a bit too young to read the young adult book, because a lot of the concepts sort of did not register in my head, and I just did not get it, And I oftentimes enjoy the movie of John Green books better than the John Green books. But we'll talk about it later. The Fault in Our Stars. I don't think there's a lot to praise about the casting. We won't mention Redacted, because he's not a good man, but what's her name? Shailene Woodley. I think she did an okay job. I didn't watch the movie for its casting, and William Dafoe was casted as the sort of asshole author guy. I didn't understand that casting. Is a bit weird. But the casting is fine, but the movie I would say is great. I like the movie better than the books. I haven't watched it since I watched it the first time, so my opinion might have changed, but I enjoyed the movies. I watched it in the cinema with my dad, and it was kind of awkward when the sex scene appeared on screen and I was beside my dad. That was oh my god, that was embarrassing. But I remember crying so hard in the theater, and I was using my jacket to wipe my tears, and my dad was just beside me like, bro. Okay, to be fair, he was kind of sad about it too, but like I was just sobbing, like genuinely just sobbing. And how do I say this? What do I like about the movie? I'm just thinking about it, because there's nothing that jumps out to me immediately like the other films. I just liked it enough like to not hate. That's weird phrasing, anyways. So I guess it was more digestible to my young brain than the books were. I also liked the Paper Town movie more than the Paper Town book, and the only other John Green book I read was Will Grayson, which I don't think has a movie adaptation. I quite like Will Grayson. It should have had an adaptation. Why Paper Towns? I don't think Paper Towns is really that good of a movie. That's why I didn't want to discuss it here. I don't think John Green books are really to my liking, but I appreciate him as an author, and this adaptation is pretty okay. Okay, the next one I'll talk about is If I Stay. If I Stay, I feel like not a lot of people will know about it. It's about a girl who got into an accident and basically lives as a sort of ghost while she is in the hospital, and she decides whether to live or not, whether to stay or not, basically. And she goes through these little flashbacks of her life, little moments in her life that were memorable to her. Um, so one of my friends, was really frustrated with the casting, and that ruined the movie for her. But I thought that Adam was okay casted. Chloe was fine as well. But okay, you know what's weird about the film? There's like this main character, the girl, right? She's a cellist. Is that how you say it? She plays the cello. The cellist. I can't say this word wrong. I'm not a big clown for life. Cellist is right. So the main character is a cellist, but Chloe Grace Moretz is not a cellist, and they had to CGI her face onto the person who is playing the cello. But the thing is, it's so weirdly CGI'd, and it looks so weird. It just, I don't know, it just makes me not invested because it's so weird. But honestly, okay, I'm not sure how to discuss the movie when I don't really like the books in the first place, so it's not like that criminal of a thing if the movie isn't that good. But I thought the movie was good-ish enough to keep my interest. There were two scenes that really jumped out to me. I'm not sure if they were in the books because I barely remember reading the books, but there was one scene between Adam and Chloe's best friend. I don't remember these characters' names. I'm not a name rememberer. Adam and Kim. There's one scene between them that really struck out to me. I thought that was really sweet, and how they sort of like bonded together even though they're not like super close to each other, and in order to sort of see Mia in the hospital, I guess. And there's a final scene where the grandfather talks to Mia, the main character, and it was just so heart-wrenching. It's such a good scene. And the grandfather acted his heart out during that scene. It was so heartbreaking, and it made me cry when I first watched it. I still cry watching it because okay, not sure if I should spoil it. Okay, I'll just spoil it because I don't think anyone will watch it. But basically, the grandfather says something along the lines of, because everyone who visits Mia in the hospital, in the visiting room, in the hospital room, it's like sorry, it's like, stay alive, we need you here. But the grandfather was like, it's okay to let go, it's okay, I understand if you don't want to live on anymore, it's okay if you want to let go and just yeah, the rest is a spoiler, I can say. But he says that, and it's just such a comforting thing for Mia to hear, and it's just so heart-wrenching. And he acted his heart out. Let me find his name because I need to compliment him on how well he did. Grab Stacy Keach. I think he did such an amazing job in this role. Yeah, that's all I have to say before If I Stay. The Maze Runner is next in my least list. I think the first Maze Runner film was actually pretty good. I rewatched it a few days ago. And I thought it was great. And I did read the books before I watched the movie, so yeah. I liked the first book. It's really like refreshing. It's a good like concept, about being stuck in a maze and not knowing who you are. I think that's a good concept to suck you into the franchise. And I thought the soundtrack for the Maze Runner, the first Maze Runner film, is absolutely amazing. Sorry, I used to be a Maze Runner enjoyer, by the way. I was so obsessed with the film and the books. There's this one scene where the greedy. I forgot his name. What's his name? He's the main character, Dylan O'Brien. I forgot his name. The Maze Runner. Dylan O'Brien. What's her name? Thomas. Thomas was Thomas ran into the maze to save Minho, and the music that was played during this very like intense butt clenching scene was amazing. It's so good. I used to rewatch that scene so many times, and like the score for this film is absolutely like phenomenal. Honestly, it made the movie. The design of the Grievers and the sound design is also so amazing. And I love like this little community of boys. I think they're great. I don't really like Kaya. Is her name Kaya? Teresa. Kaya is the name of the actor. Sorry, I do like you, Kara. I'm Kaya. I just don't like Teresa. I don't like her at all. I'll talk about her more later. But yeah, I think the first film is actually good, but the last two films I did not like. The first reason why I don't like it is it's nothing like the books. They completely deviated from the books, and I know like you shouldn't base your judgment on the films on how closely it follows the books, but it's completely different. It's completely different, and it just pisses me off. Like at least in Pride and Prejudice, it's not exactly the same. It's not sentence by sentence the same, right? But it gives its own spark to it, and yeah, I guess a lot of people enjoyed the Scorched Shores if you hadn't read the book, but as someone who's read the books and is going into this film, I was so disappointed. And I guess they could afford to make this like change to the script because they already established themselves with the first film. They don't need the book readers to be like appeased with their script change. But there's still a large like population of people who watch these movies who are the book readers. Okay, let me explain. In the books, the Scotch trials is another trial that they put the boys into in order to like get the vaccine or whatever. In the Scotch trials movie, however, it's Thomas and the boys sort of just escaping the facility because they don't trust Wicket, which I don't know. It just defeats the whole point of they also changed a bunch of character motivations. Like Teresa in the books was a sort of morally grey character who's ambivalent. You may like her, you may dislike her. But she believed what she was doing is right, and she sort of comes back at the end, but unfortunately she dies. I don't remember how she died. I think she died by a rock falling on her. I don't remember. Let me. Maze Runner book. How did Teresa die? Yeah, Teresa dies in falling debris in an effort to save Thomas's life. Which I guess is sort of similar to the films, but in the films they make out Teresa to be such a more dislikable character than in the books. Like, sure, she's morally grey, but the way they presented her just made her more like annoying, and they didn't give any like sort of. I guess they sort of gave like Teresa's perspective, but it made it so much more like, I don't know. I don't like how they treated Teresa's character in the Scotch Trials and the Death Cure. Maybe that's just like me or whatever. But I've seen people who watch the movies who are happy that Teresa dies. And also in the books, Brenda, I think her name was. Brenda was Thomas's love interest. Like by the end of the books, Thomas didn't care that much about Teresa anymore. But Brenda was basically irrelevant in the movies. Like they did not make her any like love interest or anything. They didn't even make her that significant to Thomas's life, which is criminal in my offense because I was really excited to see Brenda in the last two films. I didn't really like the Scotch Trials, but I liked the Death Cure more than Scotch Trials, I think, because um, I don't know, I just liked it more. And what's his name? Newt. Yeah, Newt. This is a spoiler too. I can't talk about it, but those who know the film in the Death Cure, Newt has this really good scene. And I think Thomas did a good job in acting that scene out. It's just, I think it was a good scene. I'm not sure if did he say the iconic line from the Maze Runner? Let me see. The Death Cure. He did. So let me see. Can I play this? Ah!
Please tell me.
No. Yeah, the iconic line from the original books, "Please tell me, please," which I was so excited to see in the films. They included that. That's a good job. Yeah. But I'm still pretty pissed about it. And the ending, how when Teresa died, the audience should be like, no, not Teresa. But I was like, kill her. She deserves to die. And like the way she dies is so dramatic. But I just really do not care, you know. Okay, let's move on from the Maze Runners to the adaptation that is bottom on this list, Divergent. Actually, genuinely, I really thought the first Divergent film was okay. And like to put this into perspective, I also read the books before I watched the movies, and I really loved Divergent. I got the books for my birthday, and I loved reading it. It was my favorite book series, and I remember just crying my heart out. But the franchise did not live up to my expectations one single bit. The original film was good enough. I think, how do I say this? I like how they set up the Dauntless faction, you know, like abnegation's boring, whatever, and you know the choosing ceremony. Choosing ceremony, is that what it's called? But I think how they set up Dauntless was so great. I love how Dauntless looked and how it's all like dark and underground, and I not much to compliment on the casting. I just thought Divergent was a fun film to watch. It's not great by any means, but it's a fun film to watch. And they just mess it all up by having the second and third film be absolute trash. Firstly, after the first film, they did not follow the books at all. Even worse than the Maze Runner did, because the Maze Runner at least had some like, they had the ideas in it, but they changed like the reason why, how they got from point A to point B. But in Divergent, it's just completely different in the last two movies. Insurgent, I barely remember watching the film. Allegiant, I also barely remember watching the film because it was so bad. I don't remember it. It was not memorable. It was shitty. They had these weird CGI things that just did not make any sense. And you know, if it were according to the books, I would maybe have some sort of comparison to make. But no, it's just completely different. And that just I was so excited about it, and it turned out to be absolutely trash. Like, gosh, and it was so trash it didn't even complete. Like Allegiant was supposed to have its last part. It was split into two parts, I think, which I didn't know at the time. I thought Allegiant was like the last movie, and I was like, this is completely different. But they didn't even complete the film because they didn't make enough money in Allegiant to make another Allegiant, which was the ending to the entire film series. They didn't even finish the entire film series. That pisses me off. They were gonna make it a TV series, but Shailene Woodley was like, no, not for me actually. And like, I understand, along with how shitty the movies were, the dystopian genre kind of was dying down at this point. So I understand, but It's just they could have done so much with Divergent. It was my favorite book series, and they just did it so dirty, you know. Um, yeah, and also like reflecting on it, I don't find the books or movie as well, as like loved as I was. How do I say this? I didn't like it as much as I was when I was a kid. Reflecting on it, I thought it was like a super shitty book with a lot of plot holes. But to be fair, the author wrote it in 1 week, so like whatever, get your coins, I suppose. um, okay, there's one scene in the book which like broke my heart and got me sobbing. It was when this is spoilers, but Triss basically died. She sacrificed herself, and there was this whole ending with Four reminiscing and being all sad because of Triss's death. And Triss's brother also was like sort of responsible for it, but he was like not. He was in the ending. I don't remember, but that scene absolutely broke me, and it was just not in the movies. Probably because the film didn't get finished, but like Triss's death was one of the more memorable moments for me in the books, and it just was not in the films at all, which pisses me off. Anyways, I hated the Divergent series. Like, if you separate them from the book to the film, like watching the films by itself, even then is such a bad like series of movies. Like Allegiant was like at its worst, so horrible. I hated it. I hate it. Like they could have done so much more. Divergent was a great film. Okay, not a great film. It was an okay film, but they just ruined it with the last two films, and I'm so disappointed still. Like whatever. Um. Anyways, this is all the books I have in my sort of list of books to read to talk about. Um. Yeah. There is no one in chat right now, so there's no opinions to be made. So, but that's fine. You guys can, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can leave your opinions in the YouTube comment section. Yeah, but other than that, I'm going to end up now. If you enjoyed, you can follow. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. I'm close to 10 followers on Twitch, so if you would follow, I'll really appreciate that. But yeah, next stream will be a very interesting stream. I always say that, but this time it's genuinely like a variety stream. It's not a podcast, so you can stay tuned for that. I'm excited for that. Anyways, this is it for today's podcast. I hope you guys have a good day and good night. Bye!